everybody. Welcome to the Bizarre Briefing. This is the July 2019 edition. I'm Bryce Castillo, joined as always with Grant Hughes.
Hey, that's me.
And John Rael.
Hello.
This is the Behind the Scenes podcast, all about what goes on here at the media company that is Bizarre Magic.
Sounds so formal.
Yeah.
Official.
I feel like we've never, or maybe early on, but I don't think we've ever actually contextualized that for people, especially with the name. Because we don't use the Bizarre Magic end tags on the videos anymore.
Sure.
And so maybe people might not even just know that's why it's called Bizarre Briefing.
4 years in and somebody's going to be like, I finally understand.
I get it now.
I know.
Did we not have intro music today?
We edit that in post.
Oh.
We've been doing that
Oh.
the whole time.
I guess I've just been watching them on YouTube after the fact and assuming that it happened.
You just have a fugue state when we have to record. That's what it looked like. No, we do that afterward. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is the behind the scenes show at everything that goes on here at Bizarre Magic.
That's a little behind the scenes taste for you.
We do YouTube videos and channels. We do the store, Scam Stuff, Modern Rogue, Scam Nation. We do Night Attack and Weird Things and Cord Killers and all sorts of good stuff. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this week. We've got a few topics here. Normally we go into the episodes really with a ton of stuff to talk about, and I feel like this past month we don't have a lot to talk about because we just haven't had many shoots or anything because there's been so much travel going on.
Sure.
So we're a little lighter on topics today. We also don't have David here with us today, so we probably don't have any updates on the store or shirts or anything. So just heads up on that. But yeah, Brian's been traveling and doing a lot of family stuff. He had a big family reunion this past weekend.
A real one, too.
Yeah.
We were having scheduling issues because the weekend it was happening kept being thought of as a different date.
The week. It's a long reunion.
Yeah, it's like Wednesday to Sunday or something like that. So that was this weekend. DEF CON is coming up next week. 2 weeks ago was Comic-Con. The week before that was VidCon, and then after DEF CON, what's after DEF CON? Isn't there something after DEF CON? Well, Justin's going to Dragon Con, but
right.
But I don't think they're doing. I don't think Brian or any of us are doing anything for Labor Day weekend. But also, we'll talk about Labor Day in a little bit. Something going on around that time, but we won't be traveling for that. So that's what we call a radio tease.
Wow.
In the business. So
we are a media company.
That's right. Deliverables.
Yeah.
And synergy.
Action
items. So that's that. Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? Is everyone okay?
I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
I feel like today's okay, but it's been kind of a depressing month.
There's been a lot of stuff going on. So, and I don't know, but actually I don't know. I have something to talk about that at the end of the show, but
okay.
I don't know. I was trying to, get us some good energy, get some good feeling, get some good mood,
sure.
Get our wiggles out. Cause I don't know, because we normally it feels like this show, we only do the show once a month, and normally it feels like we do it really quickly, or like it happens in really quick succession. Where thinking about it, it's just it felt long. This past month, it just felt super long.
Yeah,
I think it's because we haven't had any shoots or anything.
It does feel like I haven't seen you guys in a long time.
Yeah. Like for the audio listeners, John is shaved his head today.
And he looks like an alternate universe version of John.
Yeah, because he's still got the mutton chop cut for the burns. But I thought, did he have this the last time I see him? Should I say this? Because maybe it's just been so long.
And I felt so isolated. And there's always been this weird thought in my mind that if I ever lived on a desert island, I would just get rid of my hair. And so I got rid of my hair.
Normal thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, there we go. One thing we did do over the past month is put out some videos, including a pretty meaty Modern Rogue episode. Brant, how was it doing? Is this the third or fourth fire eating video?
So we're specifically referring to the third fire eating video.
Okay.
But we also posted the second fire eating video this month as well.
Oh, right. Making your own torch.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're talking here about the finale of
Mhm.
Jason learning.
Or as some people know it as, Fire Newbie learns 350,400x faster than the pro.
Yeah.
This was an interesting video. So Brian teaches Jason his whole fire eating routine, and then Jason performs it.
Mm-hmm.
We did it in the warehouse with sort of similar lighting, and it was also very hot.
Yeah.
It was interesting. A lot of the specific tricks broke down into pretty quick little chunks.
Yeah.
Like 2-minute chunks per thing, more or less. And so it was nicely structured, I think. And then we actually didn't intend for Jason's performance to be at the end until after we recorded all of the instruction.
Right, because I think we were even considering having that be a second video, or when we shot this, I remember we weren't sure like how many tricks Brian should try to teach Jason in one video, and we did. So we actually had an entire like audience watching the shoot that day because that was RTX weekend, and so there were a lot of fans in town.
Well, I remember at one point Brian saying that, okay, we'll go through the whole lesson, and then Jason will get through as much of the routine as he can, and that'll just be our quick little button of, oh yeah, he can't finish the routine, and that'll be the wrap up.
Yeah, but
he fucking did it.
Yeah, that was definitely a thought that was good tossed around. And yeah, it was definitely a thing where once we wrapped on the instruction stuff, we were talking about it, and it seemed like a tough proposition to have Jason's performance in its own video, because so many people would see it would seem so similar to Brian's showcase, even if Jason doesn't do it very well. It's all the same beats, more or less. And also there's a lot less appeal, I think, to non-subscribers because it's so directly tied to that other video. So we ended up tagging it on to the end. And I was super, super into the idea of flipping the role dynamics, where in Brian's showcase video, he performed to an audience of nobody. Even though his entire professional career is based upon performing in front of crowds. I mean, even that routine is set up to like have very deliberate talks to the audience and stuff. So and he tried to adapt that to Reddit or whatever, but and then I like the idea of, Jason, who has zero experience doing this, is now doing this in front of a live crowd. And
he did all right.
He made it through.
He had some trouble with the extinguishing the torch. Well, I think so.
God, he left it so long, like where he put it out in his mouth, it was on fire way longer than it should have been, and I can't believe he put it out with his mouth.
Yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking. With all that, and also he set himself on fire. But
yeah, he caught his hand on fire for a second.
Yeah, it wasn't super long.
Because I think he doused, or he got the gas on the torch, but he didn't flick it.
Right.
Because that's the thing. I don't know that Brian maybe went over. I haven't watched the video, but you kind of have to flick the torches so you get the excess off, so it doesn't drip and catch your hand on fire.
Yeah, he mentioned that a few times, but okay. I think Jason was just so wrapped up in doing the thing, you know. But yeah, I think Jason did a good job of keeping his cool and being entertaining.
He's funny. Jason's funny, y'all.
Yeah, who would have known? I mostly left that performance kind of just as is. Like, I didn't cut a whole lot out of the performance.
Yeah, watching it, I was a little surprised at that, or just because normally we do tend to cut stuff down Just I don't know. As
Yeah.
a given.
Yeah. Usually we cut out a lot of stuff, but this had such an open mic night feeling that cutting it down to a tight, polished act didn't seem appropriate to me.
Oh, sure.
And just kind of letting some of those pauses hang a little bit longer than I usually would. I think there was a charm to the authenticity of that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already at the end of 15 to 20 minutes of tight, polished instruction. So it's like if you're already that deep into the video, you're along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it turned out well.
Yeah. I know a lot of people have been responding, especially to that bit at the end. So it seems like and yeah. Well, there we go. Any other thoughts on that finale?
Well, you guys went with the whole 350,400 cliche.
That's a Brianism that is an upcoming topic.
Yeah, we'll talk about titles a little bit later in the show, but that one was definitely one that was discussed.
Yep.
Speaking of Modern Rogue, we also had another big shoot video finally get published, transforming a rasp into a deadly blade.
Yeah.
When did we shoot? Do you remember when we shot the first part of this?
April?
March, I think, or somewhere around there. Like the first few months of the year.
Yeah, we shot the first part of this with Chris here in his backyard forge, and then about a month ago, finished up the second part, which was he sanded it and finished it off, and then did some more stuff on camera with us, and then showed off the knife. How was editing this one? Because we shot a ton of video for it.
Yeah, there was like 4 to 5 hours of footage to cut through. It was all right. This was definitely one of those videos where it's like it bums me out that we have this like harsh weekly deadline, because I was like, oh man, there's so much to go through that I feel like I'm doing it a disservice by just like saying, this is as far as I got on this week. I think it turned out fine. But there are a handful of videos that I think kind of run into that. This was interesting because it to me, it felt a lot like the Adam Savage One Day Builds Untested, where it's a lot of just like
process.
It's a lot of process and letting a craftsman work and just appreciating that process. And I think we did a lot more of that on the second round of shooting for this episode than we did on the first round, because the first round was a lot of steps that had to be done that first night. Yeah, and there was a lot of Brian and Jason hovering over Chris and trying to make comments about every little thing, which makes the edit much more difficult. Sure, because then suddenly that's content that you have to look at and vet and make a judgment call on. Yeah, and the second round of shooting, Brian and Jason were just like, okay, well, you go do that thing and we'll check in with you in a while, which actually made things a lot nicer. And also the second day, we only used 2 cameras. You did? Yeah. Okay, that sounds right. Which makes editing way easier, actually. It does. Because there's just fewer choices to choose from. And yeah, I always find that 2 camera shoots end up editing faster. But yeah, we had to be kind of nimble and move around a lot. So I was like, yeah, let's just do 2 cameras on shoulder rigs and just get the shots. Well, especially because we kind of told Chris basically, I mean, what you said is like, look, like we'll get footage of the final steps because there are only a few steps that had to be done anyway. But bing, bang, boom, we'll do it. And so he kind of, it seemed to me that he was kind of, working through it and would say, hey, I'm doing the next thing. And so we run and get stuff and then tear down or stop down for that. Yeah. And sometimes he would just do the steps because he's like, this is just like a quick little thing and whatever. Yeah. And then we'd be like, hold on. But yeah, I really like that episode. I think it's really dynamic and fun, and I think there's a lot going on, and it turned out good.
Yeah, the blade came out nice.
Yeah.
He went back. So the other thing is that after we shot the second day, he also finished up and polished the blade, right? Or he wasn't there some extra step that because we didn't take that blade with us at the end of the second day.
Right. So he wanted to touch up the handle a little bit.
Right.
So the totally finished blade is shown right up at the front before the title sequence. Because the day before it was supposed to publish, I went to HQ and recorded some B-roll and got a bunch of ant bites all over my ankle.
Oh, geez.
Which was real cool when I was trying to recover from poison ivy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the finished blade, and it looks a lot like how it looked at the end.
Oh, okay.
Just a little touched up.
Very nice.
But yeah, that was a cool episode, and I think it's interesting because I feel like we've had so many weapon videos, and I kind of hate it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, especially because a lot of them, like Desperate Defense feels. I get why some people like it, but it feels kind of lame to me because it's a lot of like make believe stuff. It's a lot of like, oh, I'm gonna hit this thing with this billiard ball, and I'm gonna be like, ooh, that seems like it would hurt real bad, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And it feels like there's no actual demonstrative testing or anything. It's just like kind of like, oh, this feels like it might be more effective than the other.
Yeah.
And anyway, I liked this because it wasn't really about a weapon. It was about making a thing.
Sure.
It was about going from raw material to ending with this finished product. And I really liked that about it.
Yeah, it was certainly different from some of the weapon stuff because some of the Desperate Defense stuff, like definitely we don't have a set means of demonstrating how difficult or how dangerous a certain weapon is, right? I mean, they hit against a pan, they hit against the foam boards, whatever. But also some of that stuff is just like techniques, right? Like what would you do with a paperclip? What would you do with hairspray? Billiard ball, yeah, obviously you would just smash it, or maybe put in a sock. Did they do a sock at all for that billiard bar?
I don't think so.
You would think that would be one of the things.
There might have been like an offhand mention of something like that, but yeah.
Yeah.
I also think personally, just like the question of how dangerous is a weapon is way less interesting to me than how do you go from a block of steel to making a highly polished, highly crafted blade.
Oh, sure. I mean, they're fundamentally different videos.
Right, yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there are some things about Desperate Defense that are not just how many guys could this kill? How many feral pigs could this kill?
Sure.
If we're just going to date this video.
Please, feral hog.
Feral hogs, excuse me. I didn't even get it right.
Yeah.
I was in the hog soup all day yesterday and didn't even remember.
But I mean, we also have, like it's not even just Desperate Defense. We have so many weapon videos. It's weird.
And it is always like a silly question in the face of human beings, which are simultaneously super accidentally fragile and super resilient. It's like, I don't know, like my friend tripped and fell and that's how he died, and then my other friend got shot and he's still alive and kicking. Like, I don't know, how dangerous or deadly are things?
Yeah. So that's the Rasp into a Blade video. So we hinted at it a little bit during the fire eating, but you want to talk about titles a little bit, Brant?
Sure.
I don't know how, because I don't know if we've talked about it recently either, because I don't know. Have we talked about this before on this program in terms of just like what goes into like picking titles?
Somewhat, yeah. I think either last month or the month before we sort of talked about like how I kind of felt a little bit slighted by the title process happening while I was asleep because I would
Oh,
work
right.
throughout the whole night, and then just everything would happen by the time I wake up.
Sure.
And some stuff like that. But I feel like lately there's been a hard push into what some people would consider clickbait titles, and some
Okay.
people would consider like slightly more attention grabbing titles, I guess.
Okay.
Or like if you can we pull up the most recent Modern Rogue
Sure.
titles?
The here's got the whole page here.
So historically we've always had pretty like direct titles, I would say.
Sure.
Like homemade fuses. That's that's what that video is about.
Right.
Straight up. Like it's making homemade fuses. You could probably add making in there.
Yeah.
But other than that, like it's about homemade fuses.
How to make flash cotton, ferrocerium flashbang,
Oh, weird. He changed it to Houdini's history of fire eating.
Oh,
Wait, what was that before? Just the history of fire eating?
Yeah, I think it was the history of fire eating.
Well, I
or
will
something.
say that title, his presentation, we did a video on Scam Nation breaking down that fire eating. This is just a quick tangent. We
Mhm.
did a video on Scam Nation breaking down that fire eating routine. And as a part of doing that video and doing my research into it, and Brian mentions it in the video, most of that routine, the historical facts of that routine come from a book Houdini wrote. So at least specifically to that title, that is pretty spot on in terms of
Gotcha.
it is kind of Houdini's own written account.
and
Of
I don't
fire.
know what case this makes where this falls, but I see Houdini's history of something, and I do want to see what Houdini's take on something is.
See, part of my problem is we come to these titles so much after the fact that it's like, I feel like if we had known that episode would be called Houdini's History of Fire Eating, I feel like we could cater the content more to represent that. Because if you happen to know the backstory, if you happen to see the Scam Nation video or whatever, then you could go like, oh yeah, I know that this is all encapsulated in Houdini's thing.
Sure.
But if you're just watching the video, like there's one mention of Houdini and it's just a quote that he had.
Sure.
Whereas nothing else necessarily speaks to that specific angle of the title.
Okay.
But if you go up to the most recent stuff, we'll have stuff like why 2.6 million people can push this button, but we can't, which was a compromise because I feel like Brian tossed out some other suggestions that I liked less than that. But it's kind of frustrating to me just because that's a video about shortwave radio and hand talkies and stuff.
Yeah.
And getting licenses for that kind of stuff. And it's like so many people commented like, I don't know what button you're referring to because
technically it's about they weren't licensed, so they couldn't actually they needed the guy there to even send out the transmission.
Yeah, to hit the PTT button, the push to talk button,
right?
Which actually broadcasts. And there is a mention of Brian saying, "Oh, I just want to push this button that I know that I can't push." But that's a 5 to 10 second clip in the middle of a 30-minute video, 2/3 of the way through.
Sure.
And so I feel like it's so blatantly on its face trying to get somebody to click and then not really paying off on that. Technically, if you watch the whole video and you're paying a lot of attention, you can piece it together after the fact. But it's really frustrating to me because, again, if we knew that this video was going to be titled why 2.6 million people can push this button but we can't, that could have been incorporated into the cold open. That could have been incorporated into the first seconds after the title sequence. Like Brian could be like, oh, I just want to push this button or whatever. Why can't I?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
I mean, we're talking about titles, but maybe this is a production side issue, right? Like we almost always do the cold opens before we shoot anything anyway. A lot of times, Brian likes to go into stuff blind, partially because he likes the surprise of learning stuff in the moment, but also that's just one less thing he has to do before we shoot, where something like this could be addressed by having a more thorough knowledge going into it on all sides, right? Like if we had I don't remember the name of our guest here on the radio, Josh. Like if Josh gave them that tidbit before we started shooting this, then yeah, that could be something they really push on more in the video.
See, and I'm not on board with that, actually, because based on something you said in a previous episode of the Bizarre Briefing about how, and as we just pointed out, we can change titles later. And maybe this idea is whatever it is, but why don't we just straight up go for broke on the clickbait titles for a week and then change them to exactly what we want, like after the fact?
I mean, I guess there's something to that. It just, man, like the clickbait titles just bum me out so much.
They bummed me out. And when I saw that title, I totally rolled my eyes. But look at those numbers. And I know
for the record, it's at about 370,000.
Yeah.
Where normally we do about 100 to 150,000.
But look at the numbers of our most recent one, which is Fire Newbie learns 350,400 times faster than the pro, which I would consider a clickbait title, and it's underperforming.
Well, maybe the kids just don't get the 354.
It's very specific.
It is a very and I don't know. There were other discussions about that title, but it's numbers do something for a video, right? Like it is not like on scam, when we were doing Scam School, some of the best performing videos were like our collection videos, right? Here are 6 tricks, here are 10 openers, here are 7 closers, whatever. Because at least in that sense of like whether we would consider it a listicle or just a collection of items, people know that there's a lot of stuff in there, and I think maybe implicitly people expect those things to be better just because they've been collected as like some sort of best of thing. And granted, like what we're talking about here is not quite the same. I mean, the article videos actually do have kind of that theme. 5
yeah, like there wasn't
DIY
even any
weapons.
discussion. I just literally named them the clickbaity thing that they so obviously were.
5 superpowers you don't want,
because that's what they are. They're based on clickbait articles.
And well, they're listicles. They're not
listicles.
I think is even
the
not
industry
super,
term
is even not super charitable. I
mean, they're well written articles. I don't mean to demean the actual written article. But I mean, they're set up in a way to get you to go for them because they're lists.
Sure, and yeah, I don't know. The only reason I'm like even tripping up over this is that like listicles are kind of out of fashion just in general right now. Like I do a podcast about BuzzFeed, and I have a hell of a time finding listicle articles because they don't do them anymore.
Good.
And so there's part of that, but also even in an era when they were like there's a lot of the talent pool that's writing for the modernrogue.com is former Cracked writers, and the work that Cracked was doing is demonstrably different than what I would consider a clickbait listicle. That at least that very specific vocabulary. So I don't know. That's the only reason I get. I don't know. I have something to say about that term. But in any case, like I guess the past 2 videos kind of have that. If I were to try to play devil's advocate and represent a little bit of Brian's take, is that we know that the videos are good, right? Like it is pretty much a given that we shot good video, we made a good video, or the best to our ability. We know that they're good, and if we get more people to see them, they will understand beyond the title that the video itself is also good.
So this is where Brian and I skew, because Brian is always he always takes the perspective of the business, and I always take the perspective of the artist.
Sure.
And those aren't always compatible. And so Brian is definitely thinking of, what will get more people to click on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm thinking of, will I be ashamed to share this with somebody? And part of the marketing factors into that. And frankly, like if it were a really lame title and a really lame thumbnail or something, I just wouldn't want people to see that. I just wouldn't want to share my work with people. And if I don't want to share my work with people, why even do the work? Like, to me, there's some intrinsically binding element to that. And to be like,
but do you think that there's give on that in terms of
somewhat? And there's always been give. We've always compromised on titles since the beginning.
Yeah.
But there's a certain element of just like I've always felt like we've gone above and beyond what stereotypical YouTube trends are.
Sure.
There is.
We saw one of Brian's tweets had gotten posted to some Reddit subreddit, and then someone whose channel is all just taking stuff from different subreddits and putting them in a video, just images or whatever videos, and then posting them, and it does better than Modern Rogue. There are channels that do that, and that's very specifically not what we do.
Yeah, there's definitely, like, when you say YouTube creator, there are certain things that come to mind if you're sort of familiar with the space, right? There are conventions of creating video, there are conventions of title, conventions of thumbnail, and a lot of them are kind of built around a certain level of sensationalism. I mean, if you just look at Casey Neistat titles, you'll know what, like, fucking YouTube video titles are kind of pushed to.
So I'm pulling up the Casey Neistat on YouTube. Faster than a Tesla, Formula E racing. This is the end. Dipping an Apple Watch in pure gold. Come to 368.
Oh, God,
I'm leaving
is he
NYC
leaving New
forever.
York forever?
Yeah, he's moving to California.
Oh, so that's a real title.
Well, it says it's not clickbait in the title, so or in the thumbnail. So,
oh, well, I sit corrected.
Being rich versus being poor, a video essay. I'm a lifeguard now. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
it is what it is. It is also like I don't know, just the way that they're set up, they're kind of also in his style or aesthetic, I guess, and just not being like the I don't know.
It's definitely not the worst example.
Okay.
But it's like if we wanted to do like the Linus Tech Tips thumbnails where it's like a face with a quizzical expression and a really vibrant background behind it or whatever.
Red circle, red arrow.
Yep, we could do that.
Sure.
We could have a fire eating torch.
Watch Mojo stuff.
Yeah, we could just have a fire eating torch on a blank background with a big red arrow pointing to the fire eating torch. We could do that, I guess.
And so
I mean,
again, my suggestion is, why not do it for a few days and then get as austere as we like?
I mean, I would be more agreeable to that than just
because I think
throwing my hands up in the air and saying, okay, Brian, I guess just do whatever you want because I can't really argue against it, I guess.
And also, I think the compromise sometimes hurts us, like the last title, the whatever that title is. That doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the clickbait instincts of Brian. It doesn't help us keep things nice and austere.
Sure.
That helps nobody, that kind of compromise. So I'm saying if we don't compromise and we just let them have the clickbait for a few days, and then we change over to whatever we really want that is most accurate, I think that might be a good solution.
I have been considering a thing with Scam Nation for a little bit because part of it is like, and I guess this is a similar to kind of what you're talking about, John, is like when you send out a video, when you publish a new video, it goes out to, the YouTube inbox and the phone notifications and stuff. and thinking there's a bit of a way that we name stuff on Scam Nation a little bit, right? With, some form of either uh, a part of a teaser of a title, and then maybe the like How to Win Over 1,000 Hecklers, Separator American Magic episode 6, or we could go to some of the older ones like Nickel Poker, Control Any Coin Spin, like a 2-part sort of thing.
Mhm.
And one thing I've been thinking of is like, well, what if we name the title of the video right when we send it, and only for like 10 minutes or so to make sure everybody gets it, to be something that is specifically messaged for those notifications, and then quickly change it. And some people, when they watch it, it'll say the thing that is said on their phone, and that'll be what it is. And then it'll be different for most everyone else who sees it, later that hour. I think it's not a crazy idea, John, in terms of, I mean, we already change titles a lot anyway.
Yeah.
We have the means to change thumbnails easily, but I understand the other part of it, right? Which is like, that should be influencing the content. Like, we spend a lot of time on shoot days talking about titles. I don't know how much of this makes it in the first pass edits, but we do spend we spend a good amount of time thinking about like, what will the title be for this thing, because they want that, right? They want the title to influence the content so that it feels both authentic and like you were delivering on what the promise is.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that somewhat previously in the past couple months, and it's kind of a bummer because it's like, Brian does like to go like, oh, what's the title of this video before we shoot, which on one hand makes me feel like we should have already known this before we all got together, to shoot.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of things about production I wish we knew going into it, but yeah, I think that's a separate thing.
But also, like, Brian has very explicitly told me that, production Brian and marketing Brian are very different Brians who are not the same person and don't make the same decisions.
Right.
So it's like we spend all of this time before a shoot figuring out, okay, what should the title be? And then we all come to a consensus, and then 3 weeks later, Brian's like, no, all of that's dumb. Here's what the title should be. And it's like, well, you can't if you don't stick to the title that influenced the episode, then you can't have a title that like affects how we present things in the way that would be optimal.
I mean, I think conceptually that makes sense, but also like there's always been fudge room in terms of titling, right? I mean, even back to Scam School when
sure, but not when you get as specific as, hey, we can't press this button that 2.6 million people can press, when it's like that's such an incredibly narrow slice of the video.
Sorry, wait, I
so like if that title had been decided upon before we shot, we could have made that a much wider slice of the video that actually made sense as a title.
Yeah.
But because we came to it after the fact and it's just such a tiny bit of that video, it just doesn't make any sense. And I think there are a variety of titles that could be chosen after the fact that do properly reflect the video. But I think something that highly specific doesn't.
See, and I think had we known that title in advance and trying to kind of gear the video around that, I think that it might have made for a poor video,
Well, when talking about the fire eating, the finale video, like the thing that we walked into when we were doing that was, this is like, we need to keep this short because otherwise it will just balloon into this long instructional thing, or we might have to break it out into 2 videos or something like that. And so we gave Jason a time limit. This was a thing that I brought up in the Slack when we were talking about titles, is like, well, what about, because I at least had remembered that had been a part of the shoot, was like saying, okay, we're only going to get 20 minutes to learn this whole thing. And then that's a thing where that would have been, I feel like that would have been a successful option both in terms of like having a number which gets people interested, but also being authentic to the way we shot it and to kind of the idea and the tone of the video. But by that point, I don't know, there were a lot of other discussions going on about it. Yeah, I mean, you know, if I think we overstate the value of one or both of them going in blind on some of this stuff for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I am. Brian's not here, so I'm just trying to very broadly, you know, give what I have seen and know that he said it before about this. But
Sure,
I don't know. I don't want to make this a big debate because I don't know. I kind of just understand where everyone's coming from, I think.
Yeah, and it's also it's a weird thing for me to be like, I mean, we've gotten 900,000 subscribers using titles that we feel good about.
Right.
So why is it now that we have traction that we're resorting to titles that we feel less good about, but think that more people will click on?
Well, I think that is a part of it, right? You know, we've gotten where we are because we do good videos, because we're a different breed of channel.
And I guess it's because he's seeing what, frankly, a lot of YouTubers are seeing, which is where you are isn't where you it doesn't mean as much as it used to. It's like 900,000 subscribers is awesome, but it's not as awesome as it was even like a year or 2 years ago.
I mean, all channels inflate over time. So the relative scale is going to change.
Sure. I mean, I guess it's like a Twitter thing, right? Like it's not everyone who gets 1 million subscribers is Ashton Kutcher anymore. Sure.
Yeah, sure.
But also, like, I still think I mean, the fact that we perform as consistently well as we do, even our lower performing videos, is a very good position that we're in, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't think it is understated, being like, you know, understanding how we got here and the type of audience that we're trying to you know, to appeal to. But I think part of it is like, or my guess now I'm just speculating, is like, you know, when stuff goes viral, right, then that's a totally it's a different thing, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is because it's always changing. It's all voodoo. But I think if Brian is trying to say like, well, you know, we have these videos, we shoot good videos, we try to make sure that they have good moments, that they're good enough to be worthy of going viral, then aiming it in such a way is there's a value in that. But yeah, titling has always been, I don't know, a back and forth thing here.
Yeah, Anathema Unbound says that it also depends on the type of audience you want, because clickbait titles are going to attract different viewers than the more bare titles.
Okay.
And that's maybe like a minor consideration for me as well. Just like, you know, I like that. I like that the kind of more stripped down title sort of tells you that it's like, oh, fencing with rapiers. I know that video is going to probably be like an in-depth, comprehensive look at the entire category of fencing with rapiers. Mm-hmm. But if it had been like, you gotta hold your sword in this crazy way, or some weird title, I don't know. I'm not even good at coming up with clickbait titles as it is.
Yeah.
But if it were that, then it's like, I feel like that's diminutive of the actual subject matter and the work that's being done there. Uh-huh. And it's going to pull in people who are looking for a more surface level experience than what I'm trying to offer.
But do you think that a title that has a larger, like, assuming that our fan base is, you know, is as committed as they seem to be, that if we get in a larger, more shallow audience that at least some portion of that will get what they want.
There'll be some conversion.
Because I think that's part of the other part of it is like, if we appeal to more people, even if it's not exactly what's on the tin, we'll find some percentage of people that do want this and do convert.
Yeah, I think there'll be some level of conversion that happens there, but it's also like I've seen channels go this route that have been more like descriptive titles and gone to more catchy attention grabbing titles, and it has made me unsubscribe from them because I feel a tonal shift that I don't like. And so if a bunch of people say, oh, this was a channel that bucked against trends and they just did their own thing and existed in their own space, but then they reached over here and started doing this different thing, then like that creates like a certain conflict of expectation, I think. And you know, something that Brian has been quick to note, not everybody is me. I'm a discerning audience for a lot of things. If I see a title that I can tell wants me to click on it, I just won't. Like there have been like Linus Tech Tips. I subscribe to Linus Tech Tips and I've got plenty of issues with them and the stuff they make, but occasionally I like to watch their videos. But if there's a video that is just like so cloyingly like trying to get me to watch it, whether it be the thumbnail or the title, I just refuse. Like it's just, I have no interest in feeding into that machine. And it just really bums me out to see us feed into that ourselves.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know kind of where to go with the topic, you know, because I think, you know, I think both you and Brian are pretty I don't know, have very strong convictions about it.
And I think we can have it both ways, because personally, as a YouTube watcher and, you know, creator, I agree with you. But on the other hand, it's like I realize that the majority of the population out there is guys like James and Nintendo Nerd, and not guys like us or Red Letter Media or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. We didn't solve this one, but
I think I did. I think I solved it. 1 week clickbait, and then we change it to something cool and classy.
I mean, it's definitely another option.
Yeah.
It's something that I had not considered.
Yeah. Watch the space for more updates about this. I'm sure this won't be the last time we talk about titles.
Titles and comments.
That's right. Oh God, we don't have any comments. We don't have any comment stuff to. Oh, we kind of do. Okay. So, if I can change gears just a little bit here, Night Attack, the comedy podcast with Brian and Justin Robert Young. The week before Labor Day, August 27th. Night Attack is going to be a part of the Out of Bounds Comedy Festival here in Austin. And so that's August 27. We are doing at the Hideout at 8:30. So they just opened up tickets within the past like 48 hours. So you can buy tickets just for the specific event, or you can get the badge and get access to like, it's like a week-long festival at places all over town. Tuesday to Monday. It's literally a whole week. And it's just a bunch of stuff, but
so that's the podcast and not the album, right?
Yes, it will be them doing the podcast.
Are we going to be filming that?
Well, so I don't know, because I still don't quite know what this will look like. At the very least, I can set up a camera and we'll just have a camera there.
Something basic.
Yeah, because I've mentioned this before in the show. Last year when it was con season of, you know, I want to kind of pare back a little bit of what we do when it comes to recording these live episodes, the live Night Attack episodes, especially because the ones on the road, it's usually just me, and you know, we'll only have so much access to a venue, or you know, we'll only have so many resources at a place, and so even though this is going to be here in Austin, I don't know that it'll be a big deal like South by So Wasted is, where we kind of call in everybody and everybody works on some part of it. So, but yeah, if you're in Austin, certainly please come out. And this, I think. So the other thing is, when Justin was in town a few months ago, they had Corey and Martin here from Double Toasted in studio. They did a bunch of banked episodes, and I think at the end of that video, or the end of that episode that they recorded, they're like, "We're gonna do a Night Attack and Double Toasted event in town this year." And then this happened, and I think because it's on Tuesday night, Double Toasted won't be able to show up. So I don't. This is me saying I don't. If you remember that, I don't know what the status of that will be. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it. My guess, I think probably not, because Tuesdays are big days for the movie reviewer guys. But we will have a special guest in town, at least one that I know of for it. And please come out. It's only $10. And it's not during South by Southwest, so hotels and accommodations will be significantly cheaper. It will be a lot less crowded. And then this is on the 27th, so this is not Dragon Con weekend, but this is this is right before Dragon Con weekend. So Justin's going to be at Dragon Con for that. He's doing the politics show. So that's a little update. One more time, Out of Bounds Fest, oobfest.com is where you can get it. Oob.
Yay.
I had another topic here about viewer numbers. I swear we talked about this on the show previously, but summertime, it is known that summertime is generally a bigger traffic time for YouTube. And I feel like Scam Nation hadn't felt any of that. And in the past couple of weeks, I feel like our views on the Scam Nation videos have gone back up a little bit, right? The last video we did, Are You Smart Enough to Solve This, is at 27,000 views now, which, I mean, shit, like 18 months ago would have been a low number, and now is like the best out of the last 10 plus videos we've done. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just, if that's the summer thing, if people are getting, into the groove with Scam Nation, or what. I don't know. How has there been a summer bump in Modern Rogue that you guys can tell appreciably?
So.
I don't have the numbers specifically, but I feel like it hasn't been a particularly appreciable thing. I think we tried to time Desperate Defense to that. Right. I think, and then not a whole lot of movement happened there. So
well, collectively,
sure. Well, and that's always the thing with the week of videos thing, right? Is like they all probably tended to underperform, but then we also did 4 videos that did collectively like 500,000 views. So.
But yeah, I feel like there hasn't been a huge swell or anything.
I wonder what that is, because I mean YouTube changes the algorithm all the time, so it could just be like, I don't know, it could just be something about the channel, it could be something about the type of content or the categories we post in. It could be the lengths of stuff. It's
there's always so many variables that it's impossible to track any one thing down.
Right. And especially because YouTube is constantly changing or making, tweaks to it. It's impossible to track.
Yeah.
I saw something the other day that was like, have you been seeing more kids content on your YouTube? It's because YouTube just changed the thing again. So it's, I never really know what's up with that stuff. I'm trying not to let it get to me, but we haven't had a lot of Scam Nation shoots. We mentioned this at the top of the show. We haven't had a lot of shoots lately, especially Scam Nation, and starting to feel it.
Well, that's where we're headed today.
So yeah, we're gonna go shoot a few things. Hopefully, more than one thing. That would be lovely, because the last time we shot something, it was the fire deconstructing video, which, looking at it, is underperforming, only at 16,000. And so I'd like us to at least have more stuff to shoot, but I don't know. Actually, while I'm thinking about it, a small update on the Scam Nation channel, we wrapped up the latest round of domain.com advertisements. So it'll probably, if they come back, it'll probably be a little bit before they come back, because contract stuff there's always gap time with that stuff. But
Right.
But we were already kind of reusing, Scam School ads that had been made on Scam Nation. In some cases, we were going in and editing them. So like, do you remember the Doom ad that you did for Domain? I went in and what did I do? I remade the text screen at the end of that video because I think it said Scam School. Like, the code is still Scam School, but when there are references to Scam School as a show, I try to edit that or massage that.
Right.
And so it was this weird thing of like, I pulled your project file, but it had like, there are like some stock explosions or something that you kept outside of the project file. And so I was like, okay, well, I can't re-render the actual video game part of it. So I had to like recreate the falling the falling transitions from Doom screen, and then remake the text. But also I didn't have the sound, or I think I edited the sound effect to try to kind of make it look, because it also had like a bullet point, like tick, 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 sort of thing. And so little things like that have been gone into the works with remastering basically those old Scam School. The other thing I had to do is I had to rip out the music, because I think you had an APM music thing in there, and so I had to replace it with something from the Free Music Archive. But little things like that had gone into remastering the Domain ads, but it's one weight off my shoulders not to have to worry about that for a little bit here. We also had JC Calhoun asking a good question. This actually happened like right before the show started. In the Scam Nation feed, I don't know how this shows up to people, because I have push notifications on, but I didn't get one for this. This old video, probably from 8 years ago. Yeah. Only because it says the 100 episode extravaganza.
And it has a thumbnail of the Totally Rad Show.
Totally Rad Show. Has shown up in the feed. So it wasn't until Brant got here that all of the pieces fell into place, right? Because I was loading up all the things.
It is showing up in my new videos.
In your subscription feed?
In my subscription feed.
So what happened was, but I didn't get a push notification for it. So it's also doing very bad. So what happened was, at some point, Revision 3 handed over production duties. No. At some point, Revision 3 started putting all this stuff on YouTube. And I think that was around the time that this episode came out. Is that right, Brant? Or was this around the time when we took over production?
Neither. I think this was around the time. So all of the Scam School videos used to get published to a Revision 3 YouTube channel.
Okay.
And this was, originally, it all got posted on rev3.com before anything went to YouTube. And then it went simultaneously to rev3.com and the Rev3 channel on YouTube. And then at a certain point, it broke off from the Rev3 YouTube channel and went to the Scam School channel.
Right.
And during that time,
and that's why if you go back through if you go to the end of all the uploads, or the oldest uploads,
they're all like on the same day.
They're on the same day, right?
Yeah, because they just mass uploaded
everything,
like the first 100 episodes or so, let's say.
Yeah.
And so I think that episode didn't get uploaded to the Scam School channel somewhere in the mix.
Just at all.
Yeah. And so there was a random dude, I think, who had it uploaded on YouTube, and that was like the only YouTube upload of it for a long time. And then when I did the Scam School remix version of that episode, I was like, well, where's this
where's
video
the actual
at?
video? Yeah.
So I downloaded it and then uploaded it to Scam School unlisted.
And so apparently someone, I guess maybe wrote to Brian and asked why that video was unlisted, or why you couldn't find it, or maybe he found the remix, because the remix does have the link to this upload. And so Brian goes, well, I don't know, we'll just make it public. And because it had never been public before, that was considered its published date. So it is the most recent upload on the channel. So yeah, I don't know.
Great.
I think Brian is okay with keeping it there. I don't love it, personally, because I think it has been confusing for the people who have seen it and don't understand why it's there.
Right.
And there's just a random Scam School video in the middle of everything.
It's weird.
It is weird. So that's what happened.
As somebody who really misses the Totally Rad Show, I think it's great. I think we should just keep pushing it into the feeds every few weeks.
Just old TRS episodes, not even like Scam School. So.
Yeah.
Maybe you could add a bracket in the title, like formerly unlisted video.
Something like that. I don't know. I also, so the other thing is like this was before Scam School started using the flag on the thumbnails.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And we don't, like, sometimes I'll put the Scam Nation logo in the thumbnails occasionally, just when it strikes me. But so now it kind of looks in place a little bit here.
Right. Yeah.
With everything else. So maybe I'll make a thumbnail or something to try to differentiate.
What you should do is have like a really clickbaity title for about a week.
Okay.
And then just after everybody's seen it, and then you just change it back to what its real title is.
Yeah. I'll try that. John.
Yes.
So you've been working on something, right?
Yeah, I've been doing a little behind the scenes footwork, and it's kept me a little busy, hence why part of the reason we didn't have a video last Wednesday, most of that reason is because
on Modern Rogue,
most of the reason we didn't have a video last Wednesday is because I had cut it like 2 or 3 times, and despite me being the editor, I had no fucking clue how the actual thing was made. Because it was an episode that's coming up next week is the flare pen episode, the smoke pen.
Okay.
And it was like 3 hours of footage, and I had finally cut it down to like, 10, 11 minutes, and I had no clue how any of it was done. I'm like, I don't understand this at all.
I've had some Scam School episodes like that where it's like I edit it all and I'm like, I don't know how this trick works.
Yeah. Oh, so like instruction wise, you feel like
I had no clue how they put this pen together. And so finally, like on the day of, I'm like, hey, Brian, hey, Brent, this video's not going out because I don't get it. It's a hot mess. And so I had to take it and add graphics and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that was part of the reason. The other reason is because I've been doing some behind the scenes work of getting some other episodes ready to get ready by other people. Okay. For example, the pen episode,
that same flare pen episode?
The same flare pen episode. I took the audio from that and I did as much as we normally do to the audio on any of our episodes. And I took that and I have sent it to an audio engineer that I know, who I got in contact with randomly a couple weeks ago because he was asking what I've been up to. And I'm like, well, I am looking for an audio guy. And he's like, oh, I'd love to do it. I'm like, no, you are above our pay scale. And he's like, well, what is it for? I'm like, Modern Rogue. He's like, you know what? I'll do it, and I'm like, okay, but if and when you decide it's, not in the realm of how much I'm actually going to be paying you, let me know. But just for a trial run, we're getting him to do the audio, and I have a completely separate episode that I'm having a couple outside editors like slowly piece together for me to see if we can eventually create a pipeline so that we can have a third video every week that is being done by other people.
Okay.
And maybe potentially we have all of our in-house audio done by an audio engineer. If not this one, somebody who, costs the price point that we're willing to pay. And just that way we don't have to worry about it. That way we get the videos done and we have, picture lock, and we send that section of the audio and that gets done by an actual audio engineer. Because like we're doing all of our audio in Premiere and we're just doing it by adjusting the gain like through piecemeal, like individual lines. So
I mean, yeah, well, I mean, Okay. I mean, I think we do a good job.
I mean, we do. Like we capture good audio and we do what we can, and it sounds fine to me. But like, it'd be nice if I could just send it out and not have to worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot of like tedious work.
Sure.
I can spend a full workday on just audio if it's a long episode.
Sure.
And man, I keep hearing this 3 episodes a week thing, and I'm such not a fan.
See, and that's why I'm like running this through a bunch of testing right now.
Right.
Because it could be a disaster. It could be like, ooh, yeah, we are not going to be ready for this for a while.
Well, I mean, I think there are other. I think there are also just business, I think there are other issues along with. I mean, even doing 2 episodes a week, I feel like it feels like redline already in terms of just putting out a bunch of stuff, putting out more episodes, but maybe suddenly we have more ad inventory that doesn't get filled. I don't know. I think there are a lot of business issues already with 2 types a week, let alone 3.
Yeah, I mean, like captions are falling behind because it's really tough to do 2 videos worth of captions per week. For me, like, I mean, this is also partially my failing, but like a lot of the social stuff runs through me. So it's like it's a little bit tougher to focus on one thing and like make a big deal out of one thing if there's another thing right around the corner.
Sure.
And I think there's kind of a balance with 2 per week, but 3 per week would strain that a little bit.
See, but my question is like, what if 3 per week also meant that now you don't have to deal with audio?
I mean, not dealing with audio could be fine. We've had a couple episodes that ran audio through other people, and it had its own. I mean, I guess we didn't do enough of them to work out all of the production issues.
Because part of the issue is, or I think part of the issue in implement. I think it's a good idea to have some sort of A cuts or audio, done by someone else. But I think some of the implementation problems are that we are so hand to mouth all the time.
Yeah.
That
which is why
if we're waiting until picture lock to send something for someone to look at, then that just means suddenly it's Thursday and Thursday maybe, and we're hoping we can get something back to finish for Friday.
Yeah. Or we do like a vessel thing where it's like we operate on a week delay or something. Where it's like, okay, let's take off a week so that way everybody could get a week ahead, so that way we could get audio done in time.
Which is what I actually did this month. Like if subscribers may have noticed, there were 2 weeks where we did not have a Wednesday video. Okay. And so I've managed to use that to get technically 2 videos ahead.
So yeah, and so that's what the end of my thought is like that's always the implementation issue with that, like, because that's exactly what happened when Vessel started, was like, oh, suddenly we have to bang out a second episode right now to get this contract thing that we didn't sign up for started, right? Because we didn't do Vessel, they did Vessel. But yeah, it would be great if we had someone we could say, hey, here's the footage, go make an A cut or go do all the audio or figure out something, so that when the producer sits down to work on it, one of those 2 things has already been started. I think that would be, I bet that would be supremely helpful for you guys, just in a very a direct way.
Yeah. Like the only roadblock I'm coming up against at the moment is just like deciding where the price point lies. Because I'm currently estimating that we could add a 3rd video to the roster for an extra $500, but that might not be feasible.
I mean, also we just talked about with Desperate Defense stuff, like you put out more episodes per week and you get diminishing returns because each episode gets less. Collectively it gets more, but by how much?
But even that's true. But if we have enough ad slots that can, and we have a good baseline of what a weaker performing video does, I don't know. It could. All I'm saying is it could work out even if they're not 200,000 views.
Sure.
each.
Although I feel like that'll push Brian deeper into we gotta make people click on these. Let's make the titles and thumbnails more clickable, which goes against my interests.
Wow. So the pipeline. So did you were you saying what level of progress you were at? So you had some videos.
So I have 2 videos that are like one is pretty much fully cut now, and I just am waiting on my audio friend to finish it up. And I have another that has had a rough cut by an outside editor, and I'm just feeling the waters of, can somebody else handle this remotely? And I actually have a pair of editors, and I figure between the 2 of them,
how many people are in this scheme?
Here's the thing. Here's another issue: is you can't have a guaranteed person who is just waiting around one day a week. So you have to have multiple people who could potentially, cover any given project.
Okay.
It's like when you go to get your text on videos for words,
Captioning.
captioning done. It's never done by one single individual.
No,
right?
but I would really love it if it were. I think before we hire a full-time editor, we should hire a full-time captioner, because it takes a lot of time out of my week to correct captions, because it's always done by a new person. If it's always done by a new person, they can't learn how to do it right.
Yeah. See, and my solution is, instead of a whole team or just one, I have like 2 or 3 that it can rotate amongst, and they all know the language and the style guide.
Okay, so how many people are wrapped up in this scheme, though?
So far, 3.
3. Okay.
An audio engineer and 2 editors.
2 editors. Okay.
I mean, personally, I think the audio thing is a good idea, because I think that could cut out a day of work for me.
A long time, though. It would be, assuming this is someone doing it pre-edit, that would be them dealing with 10 times more footage than an editor.
No, it would have to be picture lock.
Well, then that would mean we'd have to be like way ahead on that stuff.
And that's what I'm trying to make happen.
And then I think having extra editors on the bench is not a terrible idea, in the case that, like, hey, maybe I would like to take a vacation for the first time in 3 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Then it would be nice for a video, like, you can luckily say, hey, let's spend 2 or 3 hours and let's get this podcast done early, or let's just take a week off of podcasts.
Sure.
But
I mean, I still have Scam Nation, and I've had Scam School. I mean, when I've gone off, I've had to go and get stuff done ahead of time.
Sure. But it's like Modern Rogue is always just this huge thing that takes up my entire week every week. It's impossible to get ahead. So it's like, I've just never been able to take time off of Modern Rogue.
Yeah.
Not a single time. So being able to say, okay, let me take a fucking week off, and maybe somebody else can do a video during that week or whatever would be nice. And actually, even just with John here, I could probably do that.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say, did that ever happen with when John was kind of being onboarded, and before we hit 2 a week? Was there ever just like, I'm gonna get this week and you're gonna get next week?
I don't know, because frustratingly, it's kind of always been like, do we have a video? Oh, let's post it. Oh, okay. I guess we're just posting it. We're just like, the second we have something in hand, it just goes. And so that's why this month there was a couple of times where I'm like, let's not.
Yeah, I feel like there've been like twice where we've kind of held off your episodes for ad reasons, where it's like, oh, it would be nice to have one extra in case we have a bonus ad come in this month or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of times it's just kind of push it out.
I would. Brian's mentioned this before. He's I don't know. I think he's very aware of how much everything costs, with all the money going into, the property and trying to finish it up. And so I would not be surprised, because right now we're doing, trying to do 2 videos a week, I guess, very, very softly, right? Kind of with whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like we were scheduling out a week or scheduling out a month based on how many ads we had in a month instead of how many videos a week.
Which is really how it should be. And Brian, like his whole pitch and even getting me out here was like, John, we have way more sponsors than we have video content.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently that is still true.
Yeah. And so, I mean,
some months
right. Because stuff is speculative. Everyone's interested, and then not everyone is interested. But I would not be surprised if that's the come to Jesus moment on figuring out this 1 a week, 2 a week, how many a week, or, holding off stuff until they can have an ad so that we know there's some sort of brand thing. So a video, make good money on ads is like, just so people understand, like YouTube ad money is pretty bad. The brand stuff that we put in the videos is very good.
And even then, even at that point that we are in full on 3 video a week production mode, I don't think
we
that
have
would be
12 ads in a month.
Well, here's the thing. Even if we get to that point, I don't think that would necessarily be a bad thing if Brian was like, oh, nope, we don't have enough for 3 videos this week. So now it's not like we set those videos on fire. Like, oh, good, we have extra.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's partly kind of why you're here, John, was to kind of be in that role when it was 1 a week, right?
Yeah.
So that, so that you're getting on board and getting in the groove of
but it sort of instantly turned into whatever we had, we post.
Sure.
I'm also a little nervous that, I mean, even with 2 a week, when we're doing 1 a week, we could do things like have 5 hours of footage spread across 2 days, spread across 4 months of shooting or whatever, where it's like,
see the knife video.
Yeah. Where it's like this big, huge in-depth thing that takes a lot of time or whatever.
Yeah.
But when it's like, oh, we need 12 videos this month, I feel like we're going to see a lot more in the old warehouse, just talking about a thing for 15 minutes. And then that's the video. And we're going to do 6 of those. And then we're going to do Desperate Defense twice a year. And then we're going to do like a bunch of little things that are much more surface level that are way easier to shoot. So it makes it easier to put out those videos. But I think, something that's bigger and more comprehensive is going to be more rare. And that kind of bumps me out.
Would you be more open to, say, taking a bigger video like that and chopping it up into like, okay, instead of one 40 plus minute video for this Friday, we'll have part 1 and part 2, and they'll be on different days.
If it were structured like that when we shoot it, sure. But if it were like, oh, we're shooting this one thing, like the fencing with rapiers thing, there was talk about like, oh, should we split this or whatever? And it's like, we didn't shoot it that way, so I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that.
Then maybe that's something on the production side where when we're done shooting along, we know when we spend more than a couple hours shooting something, that we say, hey, should we consider shooting some extra stuff to frame this out, so that they can be split up, right?
Well, also, would you be opposed to knowing that like every week's Friday video is like the quote unquote flagship video, and like, oh, Monday's the article video. It's, Modern Rogue Monday's article video, and Wednesday is something else.
Well, I think that contradicts kind of building that buffer, right?
Well, I guess I'm
you know
just,
what I mean, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I guess like I'm not opposed to knowing that half of the videos that we put out are going to be the easy ones and the other half are going to be the hard ones. And I don't think it's going to get to the point where 90% of what we're releasing is just them talking in the warehouse.
I'm also just weird in that, like, ideally, I'd be like, oh yeah, we would post a video every 2 weeks, and then just like make it this big in-depth thing that I could spend tons of time on or whatever.
Sure.
But I know that will literally never happen as long as I work here. So.
Yeah, I mean, just the scaling of the business, right? Like, I don't know. We've got a lot of we're diversified in a lot of ways with the different shows and different channels and all. But
you could say that.
Well, I mean, we are.
Yeah, I know. Brian has like 20 shows that he does.
Yeah.
So he can't spend like more than 30 minutes with any single one of them.
Right. But and so I mean that's what I'm getting at is like to scale any one of those up, it kind of requires, I don't know, a different look, because it like, I don't know, I like William Osmond does a video every week, maybe not even that. But he has very in-depth builds, and they're long, projects, and they're kind of, each one is a kind of a big to do, but also, that's one video every so often.
Well, what is his team like?
And it's just him, and he's got a guy.
See, Brian's got team people to feed.
Sure. I mean, it's just a scale thing, right? Like, I think if it was just you and Brian, then yeah, I think that could be the way it is. But
my hope, my instinct, and basically this will never happen unless the way it happens makes your life easier. I'll just put it that way. The only way that we will add a third video or, like implement a pipeline is if it starts to make your life easier to where you're able to, save time by sending things off to certain people.
I mean, that two per week has increased my workload.
Yes, it makes it way harder for you. Because now,
way hard.
You have to give notes.
Way harder is maybe overstating it, but like it does create more work as far as like nursing the publishing of everything, and then doing captions for everything, and giving notes for everything, and doing all that stuff. It takes up a day out of my work day, all combined. And so a third. Maybe there's a point at which it doesn't increase my workload, but I don't know when that point is.
See, coincidentally or ironically, I think the third video will actually make my job much harder, but hopefully make your job easier, if that makes sense.
No.
Because the pipeline will be more like my responsibility to make sure that they've got the style guides and everything is...
Maybe this is a framing issue, right? I mean, because you've said 3 videos a week every time we've talked about this pipeline thing, and every time it has given both of us a conniption. And maybe we need to be like, it would be great if we had a pipeline to support 2 videos a week. Like, I think it's a matter of perspective, right? Like, because you're right. Like, another video does have overhead. It's got captions. It's got a social side. It's got a publishing side, quality control, and that all comes with the third video. But that's not what the pipeline is trying to solve. The pipeline is trying to ease the workload.
Yeah.
And so if I'm listening to the pipeline conversation, I go, this is all for a third video a week. Couldn't we just spend that money on like someone, a social media person, to do all the captions and to do all the social media stuff and to deal with the first pass edits and to deal with the Patreon stuff? Or versus like if I was comparing that person to the pipeline to help ease the second video a week, so that we know we solidly have the capacity to do 2 videos a week.
See, honestly, my only rejection of that idea is I'm just hearing Brian's voice. Like, well, I'm already paying this amount for 2 videos a week. Why am I going to pay more for the same 2 videos a week?
We all hear Brian's voice when he's not talking, so you're not alone.
But sure. But also, you can only bleed so much from a stone, right? Like, there's overhead to these videos, and even doing 2 a week now, you guys are kind of reaching that. So I'm just saying, like, that might be a thing Brian says. I also think if you told Brian that we were all redlining and just whatever, I think he would also understand that.
Every time you guys say pipeline, I just think about Mario Maker 2. Instead of playing a lot of that, I'm like, yeah, get in that pipeline.
That's right. So I have a topic here. I hope this isn't a bummer.
I'll be the judge of this.
I don't know what it is. I've just felt so bad the past 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Have you been reading like Jean-Paul Sartre? Because I'm reading the topic.
Well, that's just so I know that it's there. Okay. I've been in a bad headspace for a while now, and it's it's a mixture of things, right? Like, the Scam Nation, doing as well as it is, having as many things shot as we do, dealing with all the social element sides of here and the podcasts and like personal stuff, fucking everything happening out in the world. And we've talked about this on After Things, the After Things program, the sister program of Weird Things, weirdthings.com. And this was actually the episode this week, talking about like social media and like, because I don't know, Brian had some people in his mentions, and you know how he handles negative responses to stuff, and so it just kept reminding me of this tweet I saw, which was like, hey, isn't it awful that the best, like, if you are successful on Twitter is impossible to use, right? Because you're just inundated with engagement and replies and people wanting to start fights and people stealing your stuff. Like, that's the goal of Twitter. Like, oh geez. And then there are other Discord servers that I'm in that have like been like having all these fights and drama and shit the past few weeks. Just makes me go like, why am I even wasting time thinking about this?
Right.
And so I'm just like, I don't even know what we're doing anymore. I feel like I've lost the thread on social media, on YouTube, and like even title stuff. I'm like, why are we even fighting over any of this stuff? And so I don't know if that's just me. I just feel really weird right now. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
No, I get you. And maybe it's because I've always kind of approached social media from a very cynical place. Like if you know me personally and like you're friends with me on Facebook or whatever, you know that I haven't really been on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram in a good 2 or 3 months, because I come from a very cynical place. And this actually comes from one of my former producers in LA, Dr. Randy Olson, filmmaker, Flockadodos, blah, blah, blah. His stance was always, unless you have something to sell, John, don't make yourself known. Unless you are there to pitch something, don't go on a talk show. Unless you have a book, movie, video, don't make yourself a spectacle. And so I guess the only time I'm really interactive or on Instagram, even doing like cheesy selfies or whatever, is when I'm making my own videos, when I'm producing my own stuff. And it's a very cynical thing, but it also keeps me from getting, I guess, too engaged or committed to the outcome.
But that's okay. I do understand that, but on the other hand, if what you're saying is like only use social media to promote like that, then I would definitely, especially never ever use any of that. I would log off immediately and all this stuff, because I use it as a social platform. I like having fun or cracking jokes or talking to people, and I don't know. It's just been weird, just with a million different things happening at once.
I'll say 2 things. One, social media is a hellscape and everybody should log off forever. I used to use a lot of social media stuff quite a bit in the past, and then I devalued it in my brain, and I just never post anything anywhere anymore. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I that's where I'm at with that. Okay. 2, I certainly feel you. I've had bouts of depression over the years, and I kind of see it as like being dropped into the middle of an ocean, where you kind of tread water, and you're just buoyant enough to not drown. And there are deep depths just beneath you, and occasionally there will be swells. There'll be waves that'll wash over you, and sometimes you can ride that swell and you can stay above and you can survive, and sometimes you get washed under the swell. And this past month I've been less buoyant than is survivable, really. So I feel that, and I don't really know what the solution is.
No, I don't know that there's. It was like there was something about yesterday. We did the podcasts yesterday, and over having been working on the podcast a few years, I have like a weird relationship with them, right? Because like I certainly work them. Sometimes I'm on them. Sometimes I've been asked to host them, and so there's still a weird dance of like when and how do I contribute to any conversation. But there's just something about like every time I tried yesterday, I kept getting like run over or interrupted and then couldn't finish my bit, or I did something for the show and then it wasn't it I couldn't see it to the end, or there was something about that kind of gave me a bad day. And then I went home and there was a bunch of bullshit on this other Discord server of like, oh, we're kicking everybody off and we're doing sub only or something. Like it was not a good day. And they did that because someone over there wasn't having a good day. But it was just like, like, what the fuck? I don't know.
Well,
I've lost sight of it, I guess.
I just got to ask then, are you experiencing depression or are you sad?
I don't know. I can't go to a therapist.
I mean, for the record, my experience with depression is very, very minimal, but it did happen once in my life for like a 2-week period. And the girl I was living with at the time, she actually had to point it out to me. Yeah. She's like, John, you're really depressed. You need to talk to somebody. I'm like, what? I'm happy. Like, this is great. Like, I'm working from home. I'm doing what I love. I've got these projects coming up. And she's like, no, John, you're sleeping like 12 hours a day and you're this, you're that, like all these, she like pointed out all these things. Sure. And I'm like, how could I be depressed if I'm happy? That doesn't make any fucking sense. And she's like, no, trust me. And sure enough, like I went outside, I started like, mingling with people, and I'm like, whoa, I was really in a bad headspace because existence just didn't mean as much, if we are getting existential here. And I think that's what depression is. It's like,
well, and a lot of it is like, we work from home most of the time.
Yeah.
We haven't seen each other pretty much since this last episode of this show. And so the only people I've really seen, I've gone out and done some things, but I see Brian more than anybody else on the planet right now. And that's already like a weird, emotional friendship relationship thing.
Right.
And that's it. And so I like, to your question of if it's depression or sadness, I don't know. Cause I think I have a good understanding of all the different factors going on. And so I don't know. And I don't like, I don't know. Last week, the Grant Thompson thing happened, and I did not know the man very well. I had seen him maybe about an hour or two in my entire life. But I think maybe just being very close to death or something did something. I don't know what it is, but I feel like I've lost the thread on like I feel like I lose days, like, like being online, like if I have a day off, which I try to pace myself off so I have some, and especially when we haven't had shoots, it's been much easier where I try to like, okay, this is a day for me, and then I spend it like on Discord or on Twitter refreshing and waiting for people to converse with, like, what the fuck's like, and the end result of that is all these drama and fights and shit, or I don't know. So I don't know. I'm not going to go out and, black out my accounts and delete stuff just yet. But I've definitely like had, I think everything has been put in like fair game, right? Of like what is on the chopping block. And it could be literally anything.
I will say the Grant Thompson thing struck me in that similar way, especially because like we were like the same age.
Yeah.
And I think it's also probably hitting Brian in the same way. But I'm like, whoa, like could be gone tomorrow. And I got so many things on the back burner. like so many projects, like hard drives filled with these projects that I haven't even touched because I'm trying to, establish a flow here and get everything settled here.
Yeah.
And like, even though I have plans for that, it's like, what if like nothing, like everything I worked for gone?
I'm feeling the opposite because I've had a very like strong memento mori, like hoorah, let's do something. But just this past week, I've just been like, am I working on anything right now that would be, substantial? Like, and also like I was so in my head, and I didn't even get an episode of my podcast out this past week, which I'd been doing very good with for like the past not 8 or 9 months, and so I don't know. I feel like it hasn't invigorated me. It's made me like retreat more.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah. Pretty much every day I find myself asking, is this
working at all?
Yeah. Or like, what is my purpose? I believe that humans have two purposes in life. One is biological purpose, which is encoded into us, and then one is intellectual purpose, which we determine for ourselves. Significance is not a thing that exists objectively. It is a thing that only we can impart in ourselves. And if we determine that nothing is important or significant, then factually nothing is important or significant, which can put a tremendous onus on ourselves to find value where there inherently isn't any. So I ask myself these things every day. Like, is this week's episode of Modern Rogue like fulfilling my self-ordained purpose? And some weeks it sort of is, and some weeks it is not. And that's for me, that's a tough thing to reconcile and to deal with. I've been thinking a lot about free will lately.
I saw you posted a lot in the Modern Rogue Discord about free will.
Free will and uncertainty principle, and I've been trying to
fatalism and
work through stuff in my head.
You guys, the way you guys are both speaking, I guess you guys both have very like immediate sets of goals and outcomes.
I mean, I
like your podcast, this week's episode, and I'm thinking
all I can do is take it week by week because shit changes so like immediately.
That's true, but like, don't you guys have any like grand schemes, like a concept album, like a feature film, like me, like my goal is 3-4 years from now, like I'm a showrunner on my own TV show, or I'm a director on something, or me and Brian are putting together the greatest documentary ever about blah blah blah.
I mean, I have stuff I'd like to do in the next few years, but like part of it is just like doing a little bit of everything has made it difficult to feel like safe to commit to anything, because we have to kind of do a little bit of everything here.
Yeah.
And so like I could be an editor like full time. I wouldn't be a Hollywood great editor, right? Like I'm not. We made those TV pilots, but TV certified they are not. Like I could be. I've had 2 different audio recording opportunities in the past like 3 months or something that I didn't get, but just even the brush with being asked about them made me like, because I do a lot of audio here for all of this stuff.
Yeah, you do.
And it made me like look more into that stuff and like, oh, I'm like way over my head on all this stuff still. Music, I've always had a struggle with like, I do music, but also like I'm not trained. I don't know. I took music in high school or in middle school, not high school. And so, I've done some stuff, but I'm not like, I don't know what I'm doing with it. And so that's kind of the thing that makes us good for this job, which is we can do a little bit of everything, makes it very difficult to feel like in 5 years, I'm going to be this person committed to this one thing.
I definitely feel that with music production because I've been teaching myself a little bit of music production lately.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, if I just like didn't have a job for a few months, I could just like learn so much and I could just like really build this skill. But it's like my entire skill building is like, okay, this week we have a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire bit on Modern Rogue, and I want to teach myself how to figure out what chords these are and how to lay them down on a track.
Yeah.
And so it's like very piecemeal stuff like that.
See, and I guess I'm always thinking in that sort of, I guess, pipeline mentality of who can I get to assemble together what my vision is. Because it's like, you know, if you're a director, for example, your job is not creating anything. Your job is saying yes and no to other people's creativity.
I mean, the problem with me is I want to do all of those things.
Yeah.
You know, like
we are all like because so much of everything has always been one man band type of shit. Like that. Yeah. I mean, that would be, I mean, we've talked before about like, you know, what if we suddenly had 10 more employees here? Like, would we be doing management stuff? Right. And it's like that hasn't shown up here. And so like, it's like an experience thing almost, if that makes sense. Right. Like what helps us every week, every month here is doing everything. And so it's like, it would be cool if I was like, you know, had editors and we had slates of shows and we were looking over stuff, but also like I don't realistically think we have the means to do that in the next 12 months, 24 months even.
Yeah, for me there's such a beauty in the craft of all the components that it's like if I could make them all of the music for every episode, I would totally do that. If I could design the font that we use on screen for every episode, I would do that. I've looked into both of those things. And yeah, so it's a lot of stuff in there. But when we talk in big picture, like while I don't necessarily have, you know, a movie that I want, well, I've definitely had different ideas. I like coming up with lots of ideas. I've had music ideas, I've had video ideas, I've had all kinds of stuff, but nothing that I really latched onto is like this is my long-term goal or whatever. But since college or so, I came up with a big long-term goal that is high concept that has guided me through all of the Modern Rogue stuff, all of this stuff. And so I look at my day-to-day stuff to see if it's fulfilling this high concept goalpost. And if it is, then I feel like I'm on the right track. If it's not, then I'm not.
Oh, okay.
So it's like you mentioned like some of the audio jobs that people approach you about. You're like, wow, that's a little above my head.
Or even just like, you know, they expect me to have all the equipment. I don't like, I know audio equipment. I don't.
Well, that's kind of the modern age. But like at that point, especially like, you know, when I lived in LA, like I took a lot of jobs that I basically had no business taking because I knew I could get other people in on my side who did know what they were doing or who had that equipment. And all of a sudden they're like, wow, John, you're the man. You know how all this stuff. I'm like, sure I do.
Yeah.
I don't like having contacts or knowing any people.
I was going to say, like, well, and like just kind of the insular nature of it, of this job means it doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
You know, and we, you know, dedicate, you know, our time to this thing.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, this is far and above any of the work I've done in the past.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like very good job security, but also very secure.
Yeah, it's been very rewarding, but also like
very
every
secure.
Piece, every inch.
Yeah.
I knew before we started this episode that we're gonna have great energy.
So this is the thing that this is the energy I've been putting into the room. It's just I've just.
But frankly, I relate more to this conversation than like any conversation we've had in the past 2 years on this show. So,
okay. Well, we're doing some good. Please, let's talk about literally anything else. What have you guys been doing off in your off time, Brant?
I've been doing a lot of stuff. I got a Switch.
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch, and so I got Mario Maker 2. Everyone go play my level. My Maker ID is, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Maybe
who post it on Twitter and people can check it out.
But what's your episode? Social media.
What's your episodes?
You know that they have no search function in this game.
I know, it's so miserable.
It's like
you could search for a 9-character code.
You either search for the alphanumeric code or like just the broad tags that they give
So I couldn't look up his level just based on the name of his level?
You could, no, not by the name of his level, either by the alphanumeric code of that level or his specific game-specific friend code, not the Switch friend code, a completely different friend code that is not in any way attached to the Switch friend code.
Yeah.
It's Open Bio says it's on the Modern Rogue Discord, so pay us money and you can see it.
Maybe I'll post on Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing that.
It's a good game. That's a really well made.
It is a good
tool.
Game. Yeah.
What type of level is it?
Puzzle solving level.
Okay.
So it's a lot.
Oh, right, because you were saying you did stuff with like switch blocks.
Yeah, on off switches. It's good. Ish. The sub level is not my proudest, but it's fine.
Are you doing the touchscreen to build, or are you using the controller?
Controller to move around to like traverse large spaces.
Sure.
And then a touchscreen for all the actual placement.
So yeah, basically, because it's different when you only do controller mode. Like when you detach the Joy-Cons, or if you use the Pro controller.
Interesting.
It's that whole structure like feels completely different.
Really?
In I think a bad way. My Switch got console banned. Like right when you got yours. So I will not be doing any more Mario Maker 2 streams because I can't access the CDN at all.
Are we allowed to ask what happened?
I pirated it. I hacked it. I hacked it. So
bad boy.
And I don't want to buy another Switch. If I bought another Switch, it would solve everything. But I don't want to buy another Switch just so I can use my free year of Nintendo. But Mario Maker 2 is good. People should play it, even if you don't like making levels. Yeah, like A, the story mode's very good, and B, like other people's levels are really great.
Yeah. Also, I completely rewatched Adventure Time.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we're finished with Adventure Time now.
Yes.
Yay.
Oh, nice.
So I watched Adventure Time as it was airing up until like season 6 or 7 or so. And then that's sort of around the time that I moved out on my own and no longer had television. So although the funny thing is watching back through it, I've been like, oh, actually, I've seen a large portion of like season 7 and I've seen like bits of season 8. And it's like, I don't know how I've seen some of these, but not all of these. But anyway, I watched through the whole thing, start to finish, finished it on Sunday. I woke up at like 4 a.m. and was just like, I'm just going to sit here and watch Adventure Time for a few hours.
Yeah.
And it's so good. It's really extraordinarily exceptional.
It's a great show.
Yeah, I found out the other day that Finn was based in part on Captain Picard.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
At least like his values and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that made me very happy. There's one of the later seasons is kind of weird because it's like a lot of side stuff, a lot of B plots that don't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
But the last like 2 or 3 seasons are just one after another, like big world changing events over and over again.
Oh, cool.
And it's very good. It's really interesting. I don't know if the space has changed a lot, but at least as far as like a lot of the children's animation stuff that I watched growing up, there wasn't strong continuity.
Right.
There couldn't be.
Yeah, and so it's so nice to watch Adventure Time and be like, oh, this thing happened, and like things do not go back to the way that they were.
Yeah.
And that happens over and over again in really interesting ways.
Yeah, I mean, the serial is part of it is streaming. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily the new age, but I think it's just the fact that streaming has made it so much easier to serialize stuff, especially children's cartoons, right?
Well, and the fact that we have access to stuff. I mean, because, 20 years ago, how do you watch the first season of blah blah blah? You can't
buy a DVD,
like
maybe?
hopefully,
Which kids love to do. Kids love buying DVDs at Best Buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so because I remember when Netflix did started doing House of Cards, I remember watching that and being like, yeah, they're not doing recaps because I don't need a recap because I just fucking watched it.
Yeah.
Like it's that was my moment of like, okay, we're really like in it. We're kind of
future.
We're in the or it's like your viewers have that much more power. They're not relying on what the air schedule says. It's just they will watch it in a row.
I've been watching a lot of recaps lately because I've been watching Smallville.
Oh,
maybe that's why I shaved my head. But a lot of recaps, and God, that show is...
Why are you watching recaps? Just to skip around?
No, because they're in every episode.
Oh, because they have them, yeah.
Every episode is a recap, little... Yeah.
I remember watching with my parents the 4400. It was like a... over the years, people have just kind of disappeared, as people are wont to do, and then one day all of them show up again, just from whenever period they got pulled out of, and now they're back and they have superpowers.
Amelia Earhart.
That might have been a part of it. I wouldn't have put him above them to put Amelia Earhart in there. And they would. It was a serialized, science fiction show, but it was on like USA or something, and so it had to have recaps, and so we. I don't remember how we watched it, whether it was on TV or maybe we had ripped it and put it on DVD or something, but watching it with my family and just like coming to grips with like 4 minutes of recaps at the beginning of this, because you have to set up every character and all the story stuff. We've come a long way.
It's funny. Every now and then Star Trek has recaps, but Netflix is really good about just skipping over them, just like starting at the end of the recap.
Yeah.
Once it's done or whatever.
They put a skip recap button in the new season of Arrested Development because I think Fox made them recut the third season, because they remade the third season like a in the TV show format.
You mean the fourth season?
No. Yes, I'm sorry, the fourth season. They recut that fourth season, and the fifth season is also in the TV format. And I think Fox did that because now it's over 100 episodes and they can get out of their contract and put it on air. But so when you watch it on Netflix, it'll have like the skip recap button because there are a million fucking recaps in that story because they serialized it. And it doesn't work outside of that anymore. Anyway.
Weird. But yeah, with Adventure Time, I had not quite gotten to the point to where Finn gets like super depressed and out of it.
Yeah.
It's Adventure Time covers some really interesting themes and like tones that a lot of other shows don't necessarily get into. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah. John, what have you been up to? Was this you?
The off topic is I watched both of the Fire documentaries, the Netflix and the Hulu. Have you guys
Fire and don't tell me.
I don't even remember.
Fire Fraud.
Oh, yeah.
It's Fire. The Netflix one is called Fire, and the Hulu one is Fire Fraud.
Fire
Watch.
And I watched them both. And here's the thing. I watched the Netflix one first.
Okay.
And my jaw dropped like, holy crap, all this stuff. And I was not impressed by the Hulu one. So I went back and watched the Netflix one again. My jaw still dropped. And the Hulu one is... let me tell you, the Hulu Fire documentary, have you guys seen either of them?
I've seen the Hulu one.
I've seen neither.
Okay.
But I don't mind spoilers.
If the production, no spoilers here, but if the, if the production company came to me and they were like, John, we got all this footage and we want you to cut it up and you have 4 weeks. That's what would have ended up as the Hulu documentary.
Yeah, the Hulu one is a little slapdash.
It's like a YouTuber made it, and they're like, no, don't worry. You could just fill it in with like, we have license agreements with Family Guy, so just add in some stupid cartoon cuts. Like, really?
They do some weird, like, internet-y stuff. But what I will say, so the Netflix one just got an Emmy nomination or an Oscar. The Emmy, it just got a nomination for being a documentary. That's
good.
But I haven't watched the Netflix one partly because the Netflix one is produced by Fuck Jerry.
Oh yeah,
It's produced by Jerry Media.
it's a little compromised.
And the Hulu one has that interview with the guy,
Which was nothing.
It
was him saying no comment to everything.
But as a viewer, and obviously as a journalist, you kind of have to take no comment as no comment. But as a viewer, when you watch and they say, "Did you know about that? This would be a shit show," and he says no comment. Everyone knows that means yes.
Yeah. So it was interesting. It was a spectacle.
It felt like more putting. I felt like it was putting the screws to them or to that guy, and the Jerry connection to the Netflix one kind of was weird. Not to mention they both came out at the exact same time.
Yeah, but you watched the Netflix one and you're like, oh, these are filmmakers who made a film. Mm-hmm. Like if I had paid $12,
exonerating themselves. But.
Like if I had paid $12 to see that in theaters, I would not have been disappointed. I've been like, oh yeah, damn, this is a fucking movie. Oh, okay. Whereas the Hulu one, like if Lindsay Ellis had made it or Folding Ideas had made that, I'd be like, oh, that was a really in-depth YouTube piece. That was a good YouTube video. Mm-hmm. And I'm just saying, come at me, Hulu. You guys make garbage.
Wow. Ooh, shots fired. Ooh. Watch out. The Handmaid's Tale.
Total non sequitur. I've been hearing the Apollo 11 doc has been getting like circulation in European countries and stuff.
Yeah, it's on Hulu now.
Yeah.
This is the CNN Apollo 11 film. Yeah. Have you seen it yet?
Oh, I saw it in theaters.
Oh, okay.
I saw it last day. It was in theaters. I think we talked about it a couple months ago.
Probably.
It's great. Everybody should see that movie. It's so good.
I only got to catch the first 20 minutes before Cord Killers a week or two ago, but it's very cool. It's all found footage and there's no interviews or additional. They didn't film anything extra for this.
It's all just here's some footage that you've just never seen about one of mankind's greatest achievements.
Yeah.
And it's quite exceptional. There's some brief bits that aren't the footage, and it's animations of the docking procedures and stuff, or the way that the capsule does this weird flipped maneuver in space. They don't have footage of that, so they just had a basic
they actually
animation.
Made CG for that?
It's not CG. It's like a simple line art schematic animation type thing. But it totally works and it's fine. And all of that footage is phenomenal. And just oh man, when they're about to land and they've got a camera at the bottom of the capsule and you just see the moon terrain whipping by really fast. Oh, it's so cool.
Oh wow.
The whole thing is so good.
I gotta watch that.
Yeah. It's great.
There's a very interesting element of that movie, at least in the beginning that I saw, was because they weren't. They were documenting all this stuff. That's how they have all this footage, but they weren't shooting it to be anything. This is all just footage that the government probably shot because the government shoots everything, and so there's this weird element of a lot of people looking at you, the viewer,
sure,
because it's it must be this huge film camera and it's loud as shit, and so there's this element of you kind of feel like you're in there because they're all looking at you.
And there's this crazy thing where you watch it and sometimes it's you get lost in it in such a way that it's hard to imagine that they didn't film it for this kind of thing, because I remember early on there's this amazing moment where it's just they're shooting these close-ups of people on this sort of bank or whatever, and they're all gathered to watch the liftoff and everything. And so it's this piece of life thing, and then you hear a helicopter fly overhead, and the camera pans up to a helicopter, and they've got a camera in the helicopter, so it cuts to the helicopter looking down at all those people.
Oh, wow.
And it feels like such a structured thing that is, if I were a filmmaker, I would put these cameras here and edit it this way. And it's sometimes easy to forget that it's oh, they just have a lot of material to work with.
Yeah. And some of this obviously a lot of it is documenting the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of stuff was scientific recordings, right? Just so that if anything happened, that they had footage of what happened, right? And so when it comes to such an expensive project like that, there's you blink at it, right? So that I haven't seen that interchange part between the ground and the helicopter, but that also sounds like, yeah, they'd probably put someone in a helicopter just to film it.
Sure.
And
it's definitely something that I recommend everybody watch who's like under the age of 30 or whatever, because for me personally, and I think I talked about this when I originally brought it up on the show, but for me personally, so much of the mission I've just like absorbed through cultural osmosis, and it's like, oh, maybe I'll see a couple photos in textbooks or whatever, or articles, and there are like 3 photos from that mission that literally everybody has seen who knows anything about that.
And you see that low quality, television recap, and
but in this movie, everything is just like so big and rich, and it makes it feel really real in a way that it doesn't if you've just picked up on a couple of these photos. And there are also like great contextualizations, like you talk about the grainy footage on old TVs. There's footage of TVs broadcasting that grainy footage, and so you see like the public perception of it in context of the entire event. And it's really phenomenal.
It's really good. Yeah, that's on Hulu now, at least in America. So yeah.
And if you ever get a chance to see it in theaters, please do. It's quite a like
I think they did an IMAX screen, because I think some of that footage is IMAX size. So I think they did an IMAX version.
And just like the opening of those giant treads of the
shuttle mover.
And then just like hearing the theater fill up with that really deep, huge rumble. It's just like it's an otherworldly experience for me.
I'll have to acquire it sometime later.
It's on Hulu. Do you want my Hulu login?
I actually have my girlfriend's Hulu login.
Yeah,
but she has like.
But he has his convictions, Bryce.
She has the first tier level of Hulu, which is fine,
ads.
But
she's
like charging your customers to watch ads. Like, go to hell.
Okay. Ooh, there we go.
Spicy.
I went and saw The Art of Self-Defense last week.
How was that? Because
it was really good.
Like, I mean, I only saw like the first trailer they put out, and I was just like, I don't know that I could put myself through this.
So I think it was real. I did not see any trailers for it. The only reason I went is because I had seen it in the Alamo app a lot, and I got the Alamo season pass, the movie pass thing. So there are 2 theaters near me, the South Lamar and the Slaughter one, but those 2 don't always have like the greatest diversity of movies, especially the Slaughter one, which is closer to me. That one's usually just like the hit, like Toy Story and like the big movies right now.
Although Slaughter is my favorite draft house. Like
Slaughter's great. It has
I like that
recliners.
location.
It has the electric recliners. Have you had those yet?
I think I've seen them once and then didn't mess with them because I didn't understand.
They're very good. They got buttons on the side.
Okay.
But
I've also never understood how to like move the armrest. I'm sure you just pull it up and it goes up or whatever. But
the new one at Slaughter, they're built-in handrests.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you have to kind of tug on the ones on South Lamar to like really. Anyway, so
Jesse Eisenberg was good.
He's great in it. It's a dark comedy about this kind of meek guy who gets beat up one night and goes on this journey to sort of learn how to defend himself, and gets wrapped up in this kung fu, or not kung fu, like karate lifestyle almost.
Sure.
It's very good. I had no expectations going into it, so it was all a surprise to me. So I don't know what the trailers make it look like, but all the like, it's really funny. Is the thing about it is it's very funny in kind of a twee sort of like way, like a Spike Jonze, very soft, comical world sort of way,
whimsical almost.
A little bit. Like one of the early jokes in the movie is like he checks his voicemail, and the voice on the actual voicemail box says, "You only have one message." instead of like, you have little just jabs and there's some parts of it that are definitely like, this just feels weird and stilted, but there's more like, this is really funny and I really dig it. If you have the chance to go see it, I recommend you go see it. It's like limited screens right now, but we actually just reported on Cord Killers that Bleecker Street, which distributes the film, just did a deal with Hulu, so it will probably be on Hulu once it gets out of the movie theater range. But it's good. The ending is a fun surprise. I will say it's not a twist. There's a thing in the movie, and it's not a twist. Like the filmmaker has said, it's not a twist. You're gonna see it coming. You're gonna we're not trying to surprise you with it. But it's a good movie.
I'm just so gun shy of Jesse Eisenberg.
He's good as this. Like he's supposed to play like a weird kind of meek guy, and
he's supposed to play Jesse Eisenberg.
He's supposed to play, yeah. And then he kind of buys a little too heavily into it, and then he kind of gets to an extreme.
See, that aspect I would love to see, because a lot of martial arts places are like little mini cults.
Yeah.
That people pay to partake of.
Yeah. It also deals a lot with like toxic masculinity and stuff, right?
Yeah, masculinity is the like central theme of it. Honestly.
Yeah, because I from the trailer I got that it dealt with that, but I just don't trust many movies to be able to like.
No, it does
go into that territory very well.
It does a very good job of like illustrating it. I don't know that it necessarily solves it, but I think it handles it really, really well. Yeah, it's. I think I could understand that based on what type of trailer you could make out of that movie, but I think it handles it really well.
Gotcha.
All right, well, that's going to be it for the show. Let's do some plugs, John.
Bam, bam, bam. Skeptically Pwned, all things Twitter, Instagram, YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That good social M.
That's right, social M. Brant, plugs?
You can find me not tweeting at twitter.com/Gatowag, GATOWAG.
Are you posting on Instagram? I know you were doing photos on Instagram for a while.
Yeah, I haven't.
I'm sure you've been busy.
Taken many photos lately. Usually I just kind of take photos when I see something that catches me. But when you're in your apartment, so much, you don't really see a whole lot going on. But if I ever do take more photos, you can find those on Instagram at Gatowag.
Twitch.tv/Gatowag.
Haven't streamed much lately, but if I do, that's where it'll go.
It'll be. Watch these faces.
Yep. And yeah, just the Modern Rogue Show, Twitter and Instagram. Post a little bit more regularly there because we've got videos coming out, so I post those.
Yeah.
And here, I guess, on this YouTube channel.
On the YouTube, youtube.com/GameStuff.
Yeah.
Here, ask me the question.
Hey, plugs?
No, these are real.
Nice. Saved it.
There we go. You can find me on Twitter at Brycas, BRYCAS. I do the streaming here on twitch.tv/Night Attack, where we do the podcasts. I've been doing a Friday series playing Final Fantasy IX. And I'd never played Final Fantasy IX before, and so it's interesting to play it. And because I played, I think I mentioned I played Final Fantasy VIII earlier this year,
right? And
felt like it had pacing issues and it had some problems, but I do still like it. Where 9, I don't even have like an emotional attachment to it because I never played it, and it's interesting. It's interesting to play that game. But I'm doing that on Fridays here on twitch.tv/Night Attack, and trendinglemon.com is my podcast about social topics and current events. So check that out, please. This show is called The Bizarre Briefing. You can find it at bizarrebriefing.com, where we have past episodes, show notes, time codes, links, and all that good stuff. You can also watch it on YouTube, youtube.com/scamstuff. We post it. We do the show once a month. We do it live here at twitch.tv/Night Attack around the end or the beginning of the month, depending on how stuff shakes out. Yeah, until then, we'll see you guys next month. Bye.
Sure. Yeah.
Yay.
Gonna have a vibe next month too.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.